This is Johnnie Bunting Jr., the ultimate hustler, the ultimate entrepreneur, the author of 25 Ways to Make 25K. Check me out with your host, Cross, Facts and Opinions. I'm going to give you the facts, you give me your opinion. Peace. 25 Ways to Make 25K. You know that. Peace.
That you're worth less than 25K. I know 25 ways to make 25K. I'll probably make your net worth in 25 days.
Tell me, is it facts or opinions? You be the judge.
You'll have to decide. You'll have to decide. You'll have to decide.
Welcome to another Facts or Opinion where everybody's got a fact and everybody's got an opinion. Man, I appreciate everybody tapping in. We got one right now. This interview, a friend of mine, Johnnie Bunting Jr. He's a seasoned entrepreneur. Also, he was back in the days, he was a hustler. He ended up being an award-winning author. He's a landlord. He's a property manager. He's a private investor, and he's a business coach. And what he's doing right now, I'm going to bring him up, and he's talking about the whole 25K, 25 ways to make 25K. So without further ado, Mr. Johnnie Bunting Jr. Salute Johnnie Bunting Jr., my man, my brother, a great man, a great entrepreneur, a man that got his hands in everything. So we have Johnnie Bunting on here, and we're going to get into a little bit about Mr. Bunting Jr., aka The Force, where what drove him to create this book, because he has a lot of different, he got his hands on a lot of different endeavors, right? He has a book out that has 25 chapters called 25 Ways to Make 25K. It's your ultimate goal to unlock financial freedom through side hustles. I'm talking about, what do you say? He offer practical strategies that anybody can implement, right? So before we go any further, tell the world a little bit about Johnnie Bunting Jr.
Hey, thanks for having me, brother.
Yes, sir.
My name is Johnnie Bunting Jr. I was born in the Bronx, New York, at humble beginnings. I didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth. My mother and father, my mother was from Panama, so she came from another country, came here and went to school. My father, he was born in North Carolina, humble beginnings. And I'm talking about humble where he used to pick cotton. And okay. I'm not saying he was a slave. I'm saying He used to pick cotton because that was a hustle for people to make money back then after slavery. Now, they instilled in me by me watching and seeing that my father would have a job, but he would do other little things on the side as a hustle. For instance, he would deliver roofing supplies, because that was the company he worked for that delivered roofing supplies, nails, shingles, what's the stuff that's aluminum siding, vinyl siding. Right. But he knew how to install it. So when he would deliver it, he would talk to the people and be like, well, you got somebody to put it down, lay it down? I know how to do that. I give you a good price. And so I'm seeing this, because I would come with him sometimes in deliveries. I didn't do it regularly. On the summer times when I didn't have school, I'll ride with him and I'll see this. So I'm like, okay, well, he's getting some extra in. And so these things were instilled in me. So as I got older, I started doing little hustling things, going to school, lending money, getting a little extra interest with the kids that pay me back. You know, they want some cookies for lunch and so on and so forth. Right. And next thing you know, I'm in the streets. I see the little hustling game. Like, okay, well, let me take a couple of dollars and let's see what I can do with that. So I was already gearing my head towards coming up. Now, I ended up getting locked up. For those that know me, know I caught a body in Edenwald in the Bronx, and I did 25 years, and 7 months and 5 days.
And a lot of people don't know, we will have that interview where Johnny's going to go into a little bit more of that, and that's going to be very, very impactful. A lot of people don't know. Again, that's why I said he has a real, true story. Coming from where he came from as a hustler, him end up almost, taking away some time from his life, but then being able to bounce back. So you say you did 25 years and elaborate. You said 25 and plus what?
25 years, 7 months, and 5 days. But
yes,
who's
sir.
counting? Who's counting?
right. So the question I have for you is, during this time, was your passion thinking about, because you brought up watching people make money. So was your passion, when even though your transition from watching the cotton, knowing people to pick cotton, or whether it be the help around to get the extra money, and then you transition to the streets and you got money, and you was well known for that too as well. You went to jail. Where was the part where you put in your talent, as far as whether it be drawing, whether it be being creative, basically, and creating this book? Was that during the time you was incarcerated when you started coming up with this book?
Not this book, but I wrote 2 other novels while I was locked up.
Okay.
And I did that while I was locked down. You can be locked up where you're in prison, but you be locked down where you're 23-hour lockdown and 1 hour recreation. And that's when I started letting my mind escape and do things, because I was putting myself in a position to be ready for society.
Right.
I sold drugs in prison for a lot of years.
Gotcha.
And my thing was always to come up. And then as I started getting shorter, getting closer to, going to the parole board, I started realizing that a lot of these drug dealers in prison were getting re-locked up. So they get caught and they get a new charge,
right,
and they add to their time. And I was like, hold on a second. I'm just trying to make some extra money and be able to put myself in a better position. I'm not trying to put myself in the worst position and get more time.
correct.
So I need to get my head straight and flip it, use the same energy as I'm doing selling this weed, this dope, this coke, this crack. I was doing all that in prison. I'm like, same energy, different hustle. So shout out to Shannon Holmes. He's a homeboy from around the way. His book, Be More Careful, was hitting.
Yes, be more careful. Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So everybody was talking about it. So I was like, well, let me try my hand at writing. And so I got locked down anyway. So I was locked down when I heard about it. And then I started putting together stories and seeing how I could do that. That's how I ended up winning Editor's Choice Award for my novel, Son of Solomon. And
okay. So if you don't mind me asking, to cut you off, is, so you say you wrote 2 novels. That was the first novel, The Son of Solomon, was the one that, okay, gotcha. Okay, yes, sir. Go ahead.
So that gave me a little touch of saying, okay, well, it's something you can do besides selling drugs. So then I wrote Enterprise Corruption. Now, neither book was a bestseller. I'm not even going to sit here and lie. I was locked up. I had no marketing skills whatsoever. So I'm just winging it. I would get copies when I got out of the box. I was using print on demand technology. And what that is you upload it to a company. It can be Amazon, but at the time I wasn't using Amazon.
Okay.
I was using a company that was connected with Ingram. It was called Lightning Source was the company, but it was an Ingram company. So
if you don't mind, for those that are actually looking to, do this, what you did, could you elaborate on what Ingram is?
No problem. Ingram is a massive book company, one of the big boys.
Okay.
So Lightning Source was a subsidiary of Ingram. And Lightning Source allowed people to upload their files, create a book, and use print on demand technology, meaning that the book is a file, but when someone goes to buy it, then they'll print it out and then ship it, so that there was no reason to have a warehouse full of books.
Gotcha.
Your book would
I
stay.
did not know that.
Your book would stay live, so it's not out of print, but it's not printed until someone wanted it. Now, I would get my own author's copies. Of course, the author would get it at a discount because all I'm paying for is for them to print it and ship it to me. The
Right.
markup is for me to be able to get a profit. So I
Gotcha.
would get it at the printing cost and then have it shipped to the jail, and then I would sell it to people in the jail.
Mm.
And so this is another way of me saying, okay, listen, I can hustle. And I'm not saying I made hundreds of copies. No, but it was a way to give me a purpose and allow me to see that I can eat without selling drugs.
Totally
And
makes
and I inspired other people. But when I came home, the seeing people like on 125th Street or out there with their tables selling, I talked about doing that, but when I saw that, I was like, oh, I can't do that. You know, I
so
was giving myself reasons.
so again, we want to give people the demographic area when you, because a lot of times we know from the East Coast,
Okay.
but for
Right.
the world, you mentioned the famous 125th Street. Will you elaborate for
okay.
everybody that knew where your stomping grounds was?
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
125th Street, that's in Harlem in New York. A lot of people, peddlers, hustlers would be out there and they would have a table set up and whatever their wares are that they're selling. And at this time, it was easier to do it. They start tightening up because you didn't have to have a permit. You just have a table,
Okay.
you have some stuff, you sell it. And so I met a couple of guys that was doing that. And they was like, yo, listen, come on, like to school me. But I was for lack of a better word, shy. I'm like, no, I can't do that. And I was given excuses. They were valid, but it wasn't acceptable. Even in my mind, it wasn't
Right.
acceptable.
Right.
I'm on parole. I can't be out here, so on and so forth. Technically, that was right. But if I really wanted to do it, I would have did it. And it wouldn't have been no big deal because I was going to college in Manhattan, which is Harlem is a part of Manhattan. For those who don't know New York, it's just a higher upper part of Manhattan. And I was going to lower Manhattan to go to school. So it wasn't like I was already in Harlem because technically the way my parole was, I couldn't be, I had to stay near my house, so to speak, because I had a homicide. So they wanted me to stay within my county.
Right.
But
this was before ankle monitors. Yeah, this was before they wanted.
no, they had ankle monitors, but
did
I
they?
didn't have that as part of my condition.
Got you. Okay.
So I was able, because I had school, I was able to leave the county, go to school, so on and so forth. So since I'm already in that county, I could have did other things.
Right.
I just didn't have the heart to do that at the time. Like, yo, listen, I didn't see myself doing it.
So I have a question, you don't mind me cut. I have a question to ask you. With the Son of Solomon, how were you able, and you can probably help people. A lot of people get discouraged about, whether they write a paperback or hard copy or whatever. My question to you is, how did you get the award? What, because you wrote it in prison, the Son of Solomon. Where you say you got copies, were you distributing it also in prison? Did it get it well known as Son of Solomon? Was that one of your biggest ones that got known in prison? And then also the second part of the question, if you don't mind, is how did you know you received that award?
Okay. Well, there was a magazine called Writer's Digest.
Yeah,
I used to get them in prison.
Okay.
And so in doing and looking at Writer's Digest, there'd be like ads in the back where people would say, okay, I'm a writer, a typist, an editor, so on and so forth. So I looked there, I found a typist, I wrote to the typist and asked her, could I hire her to put together a book for me?
Wow.
So I hired her. Now, at this time, when I hired her, I wasn't selling drugs no more. I flipped my hustle. I was selling candy. I was selling candy, meaning I would get candy. There was I think it was called Sally's, a place in Connecticut online where I would order candy, lollipops, dum dums, and stuff like that. Sell it for stamps and cigarettes,
Okay.
and then sell the cigarettes to smokers, sell the stamps to gamblers and stuff like that. Have them send checks. It's called disbursements. You send a
Yep.
disbursement, it turns into a check, it go home. So I did all that to turn it
Wow.
into money.
So you telling
And
me, so you started off, you flipped the script from hustling the streets where you were doing it and you got caught up again. We'll get to that with the homicide later on, but then you end up going into prison and you say, you know what, by hustle, I can sell candy. So
yeah,
then you started selling candy, and from the commissary of other inmates, you flipped that too.
yeah, I turn it
Okay,
into cash. And
got you.
so when I hired her, I had money going out of the prison. And I was like, listen, I have a manuscript. I had it typed, I had a typewriter. So I typed it. But in order to put it into Lightning Source, you had to have a PDF file. We did not have computers in prison to create PDF files. So I had to type it, send it to
Wow.
her. She would retype, scan, or whatever technology she used, but she would turn it into a computer generated Word document, turn it
Facts.
into a PDF, and then upload it to Lightning Source. Boom. Now, going through Writer's Digest again, I saw that there was it was all books. They was having a contest. So I said, okay, I got the book printed and everything. So I told the typist, she became like a secretary of mine.
Right.
So I told her, send a copy. I sent both books. I was like, I'm entering both books into this contest. Send a copy there. I put a letter together for her to, submit with the books. She submitted it. Some time went past, and she created an email address for me. So she would send me letters with printouts of emails that were sent to me. So
Okay.
when I won, they sent an email. She printed out the email and sent it to me. So I learned that I won, and then they had like a little a ribbon. So you could take the ribbon and create your cover and put the ribbon on the cover to say that you won the Editor's Choice Award. So I had
Okay.
done that, and it wasn't a lot of bells and whistles, but it was a very good shot to my morale, a nice boost
Correct.
to feel
Correct.
like, okay, somebody on the outside world gave my book the stamp of approval.
No, that's very impactful. Like I said again, you utilize your time, and like you said again, and this is adding up to where we get to the book, um, the hustle mentality that you have. A lot of people don't know from vending machines and things that you have now that I know personally, uh, where you've taken something. What the old saying is, you taken lemon and made lemonade out of.
That's
So
right.
again, when we talk on it, and I'm just going to elaborate again because the book talks about, it breaks down the 25 proven ways to generate $25,000 or more. If anybody's listening, which I know you guys are going to be listening, he breaks down where you're looking for either you're looking to supplement your income or build wealth or transition to a full-time entrepreneurship, right? So in the book, there's 25 ways to make 25K. And I was looking at the book. One on it is the landscaping. If you don't mind, that's on chapter 2. If you don't mind elaborating a little bit on chapter 2 when you mention landscaping, what are you talking about? Cutting grass or doing it? What are you talking about in your hustle ways of the 25 ways? Because you say 25K. in the landscaping business?
All right. Landscaping, several, I didn't do all 25. I'm not going to sit
Okay,
here and say I did all 25, but I've done several of these hustles and made money off it myself.
got you.
Now, landscaping is one of the things that I did. And I'm starting to smile because
Right.
it took me on a journey. I'm not even going to lie to you. I started doing landscaping, and I'm talking about regular yard work, you know, um,
Push
raking
more, push
leaves, push
more,
more. Yes, I started
trash
doing that.
bags, all that stuff. Right.
And when I first started doing it, I had electric. And what I mean by that is electric, meaning it plug in. So I had some yards where I'll have an extension cord because some yards didn't have an outlet outside. If they had an outlet outside, I had it plugged in, boom, boom, boom. All right, cool. Some yards they didn't have it, so I had a extension cord through the window, and with the hedge trimmers, and I even had the big scissor hedge trimmers first because I had to build up money to be able to buy some equipment. And I went from the electric with the cord to get in the battery operated. They have some that had the little battery that you the battery be like this big and you connect it. But the thing about the battery is that although you have the freedom to move around without it being corded, the batteries don't last long.
Mm,
So I build up and then got to the gas. The gas allowed you to have the most freedom. They made better batteries since then that last longer, but
right.
still gas is the ones that does the best. Now, I had put myself, I'm not going to say the name of this company because they did me wrong. Um, but they have companies where you could sign up as a pro
Mm,
and they would give you leads. You pay for leads. They don't give you nothing. You pay for
okay.
leads. A lead come similar to like Uber, where your phone will get hit and other people's phones will get hit at the same time. So
Okay.
it's like a race to answer, and I would answer, and my ideology was, listen, as long as I have the price low, I can get the customer, and once I get the customer, my aim is to keep the customer.
Facts.
Recurring income. So my prices was low, like super low. Like I was doing yards for $30. Now, uh, foreigners was doing yards for $30. So
Yeah, yeah.
I
You
was
was
I
yeah.
was I was competing. That was my mind frame. I was doing yards for $30. Now, mind you, I wasn't really good at it anyway. So I can't charge a lot if I'm not good.
Right. Facts.
But when it's cheap, some people will accept it not being great because it's cheap. So what I did was I had cheap, I would get a customer, and I'm learning as I go along. So I'm looking for better material as far as equipment that's more expensive, but I'm like, as long as I can keep a client, I can keep making money. My very first client, contractual wise, it was I was living in Mount Vernon, which is Westchester County in New York, and the client lived in the Bronx,
Mm-hmm.
about a half hour away. I contracted with this person to do their yard every week for $91 a month. I wanted 100. This guy was like, I could do 91. Because I was like, so that was less than $25 a week for me
Facts.
to do their yard. And I was like, listen, when it snows, I'll shovel. Like, same price. I want year round. So $91. Now, my thing was to keep them. So I was so happy. I wasn't even thinking about the fact that, listen, I got to drive, it's a half hour to this place, do this yard. This was a corner lot. A corner lot is a house that's on the corner. So that means I had the front yard, the front curb, the front yard,
Right.
the side curb, because it's a corner lot. So it's on the corner, it got the side curb, and then to the backyard. So it was a decent amount of cutting. And, they had a couple of trees. So now when fall come, leaves, so on and so forth, it was a decent amount. But I fought the good fight. And it was good because their neighbor, these houses on one side of the block, their backyards abut the backyard to the other side. So the people on the other side of them would see me come every week. And so they came in the backyard and was like, yo, how much would you charge to start doing ours? You could just do ours twice a month.
Right.
So I gave them a price because I started getting good. So
Right.
they see that the stuff was looking decent.
Right.
So it's like, this is another end, they're the corner lot too. So now I got to do the curb all the way down to around the block. And then the first client, their neighbor right next door to them was like, how much would you charge to do this? Now, no one got the $91 a month special.
Correct. Exactly.
I'm up from there. I went up. So now it made more financial sense because I'm like, okay, I still got to come here every week, but every other week I got to do 2 yards.
So out of that situation, like you said with the landscaping thing, because I want to get to the next chapter that I looked at. What are you saying? What you're saying is basically what you're saying is, even though you might lowball yourself, keep grinding, because again, other people will start noticing the work that you're doing.
Yeah, it was the object of basically a numbers game. When you get more clients, and like I said, I got better, and I was getting more hits on that app, and because I had put myself to do more than one service. So I was getting more hits. And like I said, I get a client, my aim is to keep the client. So I had got that client, the one around the corner, the one next door. And then as I started getting more money, now I got gas stuff. Now I got blower, I got weed whacker, I got hedge trimmer. I have they have what is called a pole saw, which is a chainsaw on a pole where you
Correct.
can cut something high. So as I'm doing this and people see me blowing, there's other neighbors on the block. Oh, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? So now I went from having one steady client to having 3 steady clients right there, and then a couple others that they weren't steady clients, but it was like, oh, can you do this for me? I'm like, I'll do that for you right now. Once I finish this, I'll take care of that right now.
Right. That makes sense. So basically that goes into what you said when you use the word you got better and you started perfecting your craft. That brings me into chapter 4 about the house cleaning thing, right? So a lot of people don't understand. Is there a lot of money in the house cleaning business?
Yeah, absolutely. House cleaning is very lucrative. And it wasn't just house cleaning because I put myself on that same app. One of my services were landscaping, where I did the yard, and then I started getting to the point where I did mulching, I did planting, I did chainsaw. So all these things are more expensive. Just cutting grass and raking up leaves is very inexpensive. But depending on how the yard look, your price can go up.
Right.
Now, coming inside and cleaning the house, some of the services were depending on what it is. For instance, I did some post eviction or you know what I'm saying? So you got to clean out the house. That has a substantial you can charge good. I was doing like a rental when the people change hands. All right, the rental is empty, but it needs to be cleaned up for the new tenant.
Right.
I was doing that. And like I said, I get someone and I try to keep them. I did that, and then the people called me back, even though they had new tenant. It was like, okay, well, listen, what else do you do? Okay, I clean outside of the house too. I power washed some of my clients' houses that I started off doing their yard, but then I tell them I do this, I do this, I do this, and then they were like, well, listen, do you do mulch? Or can you do a rock garden? Yeah, I can do it. Go online, find out how to do it, because I didn't know how to do it. Oh, can you plant some bulbs and all this? Yeah, I'll get back to you with a price. I go online, look it up. That ain't too hard. Boom. Learn how to do it. There's a lot of do-it-yourself people that do videos. You sit there and watch the video and learn how to do it. I'm like, okay, well, listen. You got inside the house, you'll have people that have upholstery. They'll have leather couches. They'll have suede. I learned how to clean all that. So I come in, I have your couch looking like brand new. And I come in, and when I come in to do a quote, I have my tools right outside. So I come in, I do a quote like, okay, listen, you want your carpet clean, so on and so forth. Got my carpet cleaner outside. Then because some people, they come, they leave, they call you, they give a quote. I know how this app was. People is jockeying for position. So when I walk in there, I know, listen, this person probably had several quotes before me and may have several quotes come after me. My thing is, I don't want to leave the house. So I'll tell them a price, like, listen, if that price, I'm talking about telling them the price before I leave.
Correct.
Like, okay, I'm looking at other people making you wait. I'm in your house. This lady had some couches and chairs. She had some couches in the living room, chairs in the, how some people have like a rocking chair, reclining chair in their bedroom, but it's something you can have in the living room, but some people bedroom is big enough where they can have that.
Correct.
I was like, oh, she want this clean, she want this clean, she want this clean. I was like, I gave her a price. I was like, listen, if you like the price, I can do this now. She was like, okay. I'm like, yes. Went to the truck, came back in, bang now. I don't care who you got a quote from and who you got, it's over.
So you basically saying like the object of that is once you go in, if you're selling the product, the goal is never to leave. Your goal is to try to figure out whatever it takes not to leave.
It's closing the deal.
Okay.
Because they want prices. And a lot of times, if you are the first person to call, you have a good chance of locking down the deal if you know how to lock down a deal. If you don't, you give up, all right, well, I'll come check and I'll come give you a quote and this, that, and the third. Now, if I'm first and I call and I say, I'm gonna come give, look it over, give you a quote. There's somebody calling right after me. I know this because I know how the app goes. But I know once I walk in there, my aim is to give you a quote and to let you know I can do it now. So that you could all of looking, you don't have to look no more. If you accept my price, I can do it now. I got my tools right outside. I'll come in here and I'll knock it out. And several times, that's how I did it. I knocked it out. And my prices, I wasn't the $30 joints. My prices was reasonable. Whereas, okay, it's good enough for the client to feel, oh, you're not being robbed. But it's also good enough for me to feel like I'm not being a slave. I'm not slaving myself.
So does that fall into what the next one I was going to talk about too, in chapter 15 about the app delivery driver? What does that play a part in the delivery driver? What is if you don't mind elaborating, what is the app delivery driver? Are you speaking on Ubers, or what are you speaking on when you say that in chapter 15?
Uber is one of them. That was the very first one that I did. I did Uber Eats. I couldn't do Uber because what I did when I signed up for it and they did the background check, they saw I had a homicide. They were like, "Oh, you ain't gonna be driving no people around."
Right, right. No way.
You can drive a burger around. You driving no people around.
Right. Ain't that something? That's crazy.
So I had got that. And my daughter I love her to death. She's a very big inspiration in my life. And when she was born, I had signed up for Uber before she was born, while my wife was pregnant. And when she was born, I was like, yo, I got to make this money because my wife was on working, but she was off because of maternity.
Correct.
And she was working at the job contractual. So that means that when she was off, she wasn't getting paid.
That's a fact.
So I had to make up for the bills. And I'm one of them people, and this is can be a blessing and a curse, but I'm one of them people whereas I tell myself I have to do it. I have to will things into existence. So it's like, okay, there's a dollar amount that we have to make collectively in order to pay. At the time we was renting, we had to be able to pay the rent, we had to pay the, car, so on and
Correct.
so forth, boom, boom, boom. And it's like, okay, with her going and her income out of the pocket, I got to take care of everything. And so I'm like, I got to do it. I didn't have okay, well, I'm going to do this and then this and then this and then this. It's like, yo, I have a dollar amount that I have to get. I'm going to get it.
That's a fact.
Here it is. So I was like, let me do this Uber thing. I was living in Mount Vernon and they didn't have Uber Eats in Mount Vernon. So I had to drive, because people who don't live in New York, I just happen to say time wise, I'd have to drive about a half hour with no traffic. With traffic, it would take me about 50 minutes to an hour to get to Queens because that's where Uber was at. So I would drive over there, turn on my app because they had peak hours. So it was rush hour, like 5, 6, 5 to 10 was like the peak time.
Right.
So I would have to get out there, but that's rush hour. So it would take me longer to get there, but I would stay out there from 5 to 10 and then I would come home. So I'll do the deliveries. I'll be in Brooklyn and Queens doing deliveries. Now, as time progressed, other apps got in the game. So DoorDash, Instacart, I started signing up for these multiple apps and doing these because Uber was great at first. And then Uber started moving. What I mean by that is they started expanding. So I was driving over to Queens and then I would leave my app on driving home. And then I'm like, okay, well, there's a bridge that connects Queens to the Bronx. So it used to cut off when I get over the bridge. Into the Bronx, it used to cut off. I'm no longer in zone. I'm no longer,
Right.
And so it started staying on. So I'm like, hold on a second. I'm in the Bronx and this is still on. So I'm like, something's up. They must be expanding. And then a few weeks later, we're now in the Bronx. So where I lived at in Mount Vernon, I was like 7 minutes away from the Bronx. So I would drive to the Bronx, turn on my app, and start doing stuff there. And then I would leave my app on and then when I hit the county line and getting into Mount Vernon, it would cut off. Then it started staying on. So I'm like, hold on, they must be moving into Westchester County. Then they did. And I started doing local. I would be in my house, turn on the app, and then it popped, and I just leave from my house.
Right.
Now, since then, there's other apps that came about. And it's not just food. Now you can deliver, like Centex is am I pronouncing it right? Centex is Lowe's, the big hardware store.
Okay.
Lowe's, like Home Depot.
Yep.
I do some deliveries for them now, and
that's
for
through the app. Through
there's
like,
another app. It's not Uber. These
gotcha.
they have their own apps.
Gotcha.
So like you have Roadie. Roadie is Home Depot. There's several companies that use Trailer. I forgot the name of the company, but they use Roadie. Lowe's use Centex. You have Shipped, and there's Target use Shipped. There's different places, and you can go and pick up items because it's not just food. But I speak about Centex because I've done that. All right, Centex, you can pick up a sink. What do you call that? What do you call that? A sink that's vanity. It's called a vanity.
A vanity.
It's the sink connected with the cabinet. You can pick that up and deliver that. I picked up some windows. Yesterday I had 36 pieces of sheetrock and like seven compounds. But here's the thing: when Uber, you could do a Uber pickup and get $10. Centex, I've never gotten less than $31. I've got as high as $150 for one trip. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So the sheetrocks was $70 something, and it's like, okay, I got my vending machines, so I'm going about business taking care of my vending machines anyway. So if these are in the neighborhoods, there's Lowe's, and so I'm like, well, I'm out here doing what I do. I can grab a delivery and go here and supplement what I'm doing. And you know what I'm saying? So it's like now instead of me just burning gas, going and pick up money and do drop-offs for the vending machines, I can also pick up because I'm driving a 12-foot box truck. So I have space.
You have space. Well, and here's the thing too, it goes back to you can buy a watch, but you can't buy time. What you have figured out was how to utilize your time. Just like if you had space in your home, you utilize the space that you have to get the most out of it. And what you've done with time, like you just used an example, hey, I'm delivering this sheetrock, but then I got vending machines over here. So when I get done with him, I'm already going over here. It only adds to instead of takeaway.
Right. Like sometimes I get lucky. One time I got very lucky. I grabbed a delivery, delivered it to a house, and I was the equivalent of 3 blocks away from a vending machine that I had to go to. So I dropped that off and went straight to my vending machine. It was like, okay, well that's cool. But these are ways where you can accumulate payments, and it adds up. Like this is not even with the Uber, the DoorDashes, the Instacarts. These are things that I've done. I've done Uber, DoorDash, Instacart. I've done Lyft. Somehow, Lyft let me in. Because I was driving people with Lyft, and they let me in. And here's the funny part. They was promoting. I seen this on the back of a city bus where it was saying earn $1,000 a week with Lyft. I signed up with Lyft and I earned $1,000 a week. And guess what they did?
What?
They canceled me.
Wow. Well, you really you the true hustler. You like
they're like you making too much money.
Yeah, you trying to get to the money. So I'm gonna ask you, and the wrap up of this is 25 ways to make 25K. Why should the people in the audience want to check out your book? What are you going to give them? Because you gave a lot of games and gems about things are out there and you need to utilize that time and put your money behind it. So, like you said again, you haven't done all the 25 ways, but you know they're proven to be. So, my question to you is, why would, before we end this thing, give me a whole summary of why would you end up wanting to buy this book and what this book will do for you?
Well, this book will actually be very informative on how you could, with a little bit of money, be able to generate some income, which would either supplement what you're doing or replace what you're doing. Or if you're doing nothing, it can give you something to do. I have vending machines. I did not put that in there. You know why? Because it cost me some money to get into that.
Right.
I had a car wash before. I did not put that in there because it cost to get in there. These are things that the level of entry is lower. So it allows you to be able to make a decent amount of money with a low bar of entry. To get the apps, for instance, to get on there, they're free. Now, there's other apps that came out now that I'm hearing about that are asking you to pay. I cannot endorse them because I have not tried them.
Right.
But I'm going by stuff that was free. If you have a car, some apps will allow you to rent. So it's like some of them, you don't even need a car. You can rent just as long as it's long term. Like you provide, I rented it for a month so that they know you made some type of commitment and you go for self. So there's other hustles that I can tell you how to do because one of the things I do is I buy companies. But I'm not going to put that in there, at least not yet. You're not ready for that. You have to get your money up to be able to do that. Let's start with, if I'm broke, what can I do? I got some things that you can do if you're broke. If you have that level of commitment and say, okay, well, listen, I will be able to dedicate this amount of time of my day to do this. You can, because there's several hustles that I put in the book where you're on the computer or your phone or what have you.
That's right.
As long as you're able to put in this work, you can generate income. So this could be a study course for someone who's interested in supplementing their income to get it up. I got 25 ways to make 25K. And the funny thing is, I had originally made that statement in a song, in a diss track. And when I did that, somebody commented and they was like, you need to show us 25 ways to make 25K. Because I said it. I got 25 ways. So someone like called my bluff. Like, all right, I want to hear about these 25 ways to make 25K. So I started doing segments because I was originally going to do segments saying 25 ways to make 25K and start airing out my ways. Like, okay, I'm gonna do a segment on this. I'm gonna do a segment on this. And I was like, hold on a second. Let me help others to be able to showcase their talents and their skills. And I'm so busy that I didn't stay all the way on it. And I'm like, yo, one of the things I do is speaking. And I'm like, listen, this can help my speaking because I'm talking about entrepreneurship, so on and so forth. Now, if I have like a guide to be able to say, bam, it becomes easier for me to promote it. It becomes easier for me to speak on it because I can say, okay, refer to chapter 2 and bang, let's discuss that. And, it becomes so easy to do that. So I'm like, okay, let me put it together. And I had this. So it's like, let's bring it together and package it up nicely, give it a nice cover, and let's go. Because I'm ready to help, I'm ready to teach, I'm ready to make money, and I'm ready to help others make money. In order to get it, you got to give it away.
Come on, man. So, man, I want everybody, and you're going to see the link in the description where you can get this book. It's on Amazon for $9.99. Help support my brother. It's 25 ways to make 25K. It's your ultimate guide to unlock financial freedom through the side hustle. This is a powerful book. Award-winning author, entrepreneur, my guy, Johnnie Bunting Jr., he breaks down the 25 proven ways to generate $25,000 or more, y'all, or more, offering the strategies that anyone can implement, whether you're looking to supplement your income, build wealth, transition into full-time entrepreneurship. His book is the blueprint to turn your hustle into earnings, with real-world insights, all right? And he got real steps. 25 ways to make 25K is your source. And I need you guys to support my brother because, again, I'm proud of him. He is really a hustler's hustler. He's an author. He's a father. He's a husband. He's all that and even more. Yeah, I can go even more, and we're going to have a part 2 to him about where he came from and how he got that incarceration. But I need everybody to support that. Y'all see it right now. The book is up. Again, 25 ways to make 25K. And I will drop the link and y'all see it right there. So again, I want to say salute to my brother. Salute to everybody. And this is facts or opinion. Y'all give me y'all fact and y'all give me y'all opinion. Peace.
Salute. Let's get...
Tell me, is it facts or opinions? You be the judge.
You'll have to decide. You'll have to decide. You'll have to decide.